Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, first of all, let me welcome you on this press conference, but before that, may I offer a special welcome to His Excellency Mohammed Ibn Chambas, the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General for West Africa and the Sahel, attending also our international press conference. This is the official presentation of the preliminary statement on the presidential and parliamentary elections for the European Union Election Observation Mission for Ghana in 2016. I know this is the last of the international press conferences. My friends from the media, have had a long and tiring day, so I especially appreciate the large number of presence here. I am joined here by Mr. Edward Kukan, the head of the delegation of 6 members of the European Parliament who have been observing voting, and he will also make a statement. I would like to go through now rather briefly on some of the key points from our preliminary statement, which you will receive in writing after the event. First of all, let me state that we observe that the legal framework provided a sound basis for the conduct of democratic elections, and the Constitution guarantees fundamental freedoms, including the right to vote, the right to be elected, as well as the freedom of assembly, movement, expression, and association. However, while the right to an effective legal remedy is generally provided for, there are currently no deadlines for the resolution of election complaints and petitions. This is something that Ghanaian authorities may want to look into in the future. The Electoral Commission was reasonably well prepared for the polls, and despite having to deal with a number of legal challenges, they managed to generally administer the process effectively. At the same time, they did face some challenges of their own, including, and maybe this is the most important, communication, some with voter registration, ballot printing, special voting, and ballot collation. There is a reasonable provision for the right to vote, and the voter register was inclusive enough to ensure that there is also universal suffrage provided for effectively. While the voter register was ultimately accepted by all parties, which we welcome, it is clear that questions remain regarding the process for removing ineligible or dead persons from the register, which is also constrained by the legal provisions in Ghana themselves. The administrative management of the nomination of presidential candidates created concerns regarding the equal treatment of all candidates. At the same time, we would like to note that the number of female candidates was relatively low, with just 1 woman contending the presidential elections, and 136, which means 11.8% contesting parliamentary seats. Further, we see the political environment as not being entirely conducive to the promotion of female candidates, and this is again something that authorities may want to look into. We are fully aware that there's a vibrant civil society in Ghana, including women's organizations, and we think that that is something that Ghanaian authorities can safely rely on in developing these measures. The campaign was vibrant, with candidates holding rallies and advertising in the media and public spaces, and campaign freedoms were generally respected. However, the widespread monetization of the campaign and the misuse of incumbency and state resources by state, regional, and district officials were actually evident to our observers. Regulations in campaign financing do not help to create a sufficiently level playing field. This is what we feel for now. And the lack of enforcement of those regulations means that there is not adequate transparency at the end of the day in campaign financing. Yet another point which Ghanaian authorities may need to look into. A peace declaration was signed by presidential candidates on the 1st of December, as you all know, which was welcomed by all, and it was an important step along the way to December 7th. However, while not characteristic of the campaign overall, some violent incidents did occur, which we need to recognize, and there was apprehension among the public throughout, which was not helped by the presence of gangs usually linked to some of the parties. In addition, an apparent lack of police action against perpetrators of violence led to accusations of impunity, which is again something the authorities need to deal with efficiently and quickly. The European Union Election Observation Mission media monitoring showed a very clear and overt bias in election coverage by state-owned GTV and Unique FM in favor of the ruling party and the incumbent president. This is something many countries suffer from, and this is again something which needs to be addressed sooner or later. On the 7th of December, there were some delays in the opening of polling stations, but overall voting was well managed, voters were free to express their will, party agents were present, and integrity measures for the identification of voters were respected. However, the layout of polling stations in many cases did not adequately protect security, secrecy of the vote. The vote count was transparent, with party agents provided copies of the results. The management of the collation process varied across the board, and overall it has been less well organized, and with disputes over some constituency results, but the envisaged transparency measures were basically adhered to. Looking forward, it is important for Ghana to build on what it has achieved electorally. The country has now held 7 successful, peaceful elections in a row, and in many respects they have been well conducted and largely peaceful. We very much hope that this is going to be fundamentally the case also at the end of the process today as well. But there are issues which keep coming up and are detrimental to the process and do cause tension for the country. For instance, the misuse of the incumbency advantage and the level of mistrust in institutions such as the Electoral Commission. These are harmful to public confidence and create tensions and actually can be remedied in relatively simple and innocuous ways. Once these elections are conducted, we continue to follow the final result process closely. Ghana needs to look at the issues as these so that it can take the next steps in the strengthening of its own democratic process. Thank you for your attention, and now, yes, and now I ask Mr. Kukan to deliver his statement.
Very good afternoon to you all, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the media, and our dear and important very competitive and closely contested elections have drawn the attention regionally and of the wider international community. The thirst for democracy is alive and flourishing in Ghana. The European Parliament, the only directly elected body of the European Union, representing 500 million European citizens, closely followed these elections. During our stay in the country, we met with the representatives of the political parties, the Electoral Commission, civil society, and other international observation delegations, and of course, observed the conduct of the elections. First of all, I would like to align the European Parliament delegation with the conclusions of the European Union election observation missions. We fully and categorically endorsed the findings as presented by the chief observer, Mr. Tamás Meserics. The preparation for the elections have been largely timely and adequate. Despite some problems in the electoral process, Ghana's stakeholders endeavored to run a successful elections. Following, in some instances, delays in the opening, election day was generally well organized, with voting and counting procedures closely respected. We witnessed the transparency and commitment of the staff at the polling stations. I would like to express my deepest admiration for the voters which demonstrated their commitment to democracy and peace by queuing orderly and patiently to cast their votes. This was a genuinely competitive contest with no certainty as to which party was going to win. We have also seen that women in Ghana have participated in large numbers as voters and in the organizations of the election. Still, we would also like to see more women in positions of political leadership at all levels. Having said that, I will not repeat the statement of the chief observer. Instead, I would like to focus on the aftermath of the elections. We all know that in democracy, there are always winners and losers on election day. But the day after the results are announced, everybody has to play their respective roles, both government and opposition, in a constructive way for the benefit of all Ghanaians who should be the real winners of these elections. Your proud history of regional and continental leadership should continue to demonstrate to the world Ghana's commitment to a peaceful outcome of the elections and to a multi-party democracy that is clearly desired by the people of the country. So I appeal for a focus upon inclusive political life and further strengthening the democratic processes in the country, including on local level. In pursuing this future, you can fully rely on the European Parliament, which is committed to supporting Ghana in its democratic path. We stand ready and look forward to further developing our relations soon after the elections. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kukan. May I just take up half a minute of your time? In closing, I would like to stress the strong and fruitful collaboration that has developed between the international